Jennifer Adams knelt on the concrete floor of Fort Bragg's indoor shooting range, her blonde hair pulled back in a practical ponytail as she methodically disassembled an M4 carbine. Around her, brass casings from the day's qualification shoots littered the ground, catching the fluorescent light as she swept them into neat piles between cleaning rifles. It was 7:30 p.m. on a Friday, and while most of the base personnel had left for weekend liberty, Jennifer remained, working through the evening shift that nobody else wanted. Adams, make sure those rifles are spotless for tomorrow's VIP demonstration, called out Range Officer Martinez from his office. General Williams and his staff will be here at 8 a.m. Jennifer nodded silently, continuing her work with practiced efficiency that went largely unnoticed by everyone at Fort Bragg's training facility Alpha. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe that heroes come in the most unexpected forms, don't forget to subscribe. What nobody at the range knew was that Jennifer Adams had touched more weapons in combat than most soldiers would in their entire careers. Her hands, now moving with deliberate care over each rifle component, had once performed the same task under heavy enemy fire in pitch darkness with bleeding fingers. The fluorescent lights flickered above her as she finished cleaning the fifth M4, her mind momentarily drifting to a different place, a mountainside in Afghanistan's Korengal Valley, where the only illumination had come from muzzle flashes and explosions. "Hey Adams, you missed a spot," said Specialist Torres, pointing to a barely visible carbon deposit on the bolt carrier group. Jennifer looked up, momentarily confused as she transitioned back to the present. "Sorry about that," she said quietly, her voice barely audible over the ventilation system. Torres shook his head as he walked away. "How did they even hire you for this job? You seem scared of the damn weapons." Jennifer had heard comments like this since starting work at the range 3 months ago. The range staff had a betting pool on how long the jumpy blonde would last before quitting. They'd seen her flinch at unexpected noises, noticed how she avoided the firing line during active shooting, and interpreted her quiet demeanor as fear. None of them knew that Jennifer's hypervigilance wasn't fear. It was the heightened awareness that had kept her and her team alive during the bloodiest ambush of Operation Enduring Freedom. At 9:15 p.m., Jennifer finished cleaning the last rifle and began organizing the ammunition for the next day's demonstration. The range was now empty except for her and the night security guard who occasionally walked through on his rounds. As she worked, she hummed softly to herself, a habit she'd developed to stay focused during long nights on watch in hostile territory. The next morning arrived with military precision at Fort Bragg. Jennifer had returned at 6 a.m. to ensure everything was perfect for the VIP demonstration. She had arranged 20 M4 carbines in perfect alignment on the firing line tables, each one clean to immaculate condition. The ammunition was sorted and staged, targets were fresh and properly positioned, and the brass from the previous day had been completely cleared away. By 7:45 a.m., range staff began arriving, followed by instructors who would be conducting the demonstration. Jennifer made herself scarce, moving to the back supply room to inventory cleaning supplies, a task she'd volunteered for to avoid the crowd. At precisely 8 a.m., the main doors opened, and General David Williams entered, flanked by his staff and several foreign military attachés. "General, welcome to Training Facility Alpha," said Range Officer Martinez, stepping forward with a crisp salute. "We've prepared a demonstration of our new marksmanship qualification standards and the weapons familiarization program." Jennifer could hear the introductions from her position in the supply room, the voices carrying through the partially open door. She focused on her inventory sheets, counting bottles of solvent and packages of cleaning patches, trying to remain invisible as she always did when high-ranking officers were present. "Before we begin," she heard General Williams say, "I'd like to inspect the weapons your personnel will be using today." Jennifer froze. The general's voice was instantly recognizable, deeper and more resonant in person than it had sounded over the radio years ago when he had been Colonel Williams, commanding the rescue operation that had extracted what remained of her team from that blood-soaked valley. "Of course, sir," Martinez replied. "Our range technician has prepared everything to specification." Jennifer heard footsteps approaching the supply room and quickly busied herself with reorganizing the shelves. The doors swung open fully, and Martinez appeared. "Adams, the general wants to inspect the weapons. Come out and stand by in case there are any questions." Jennifer nodded, setting down her clipboard and following Martinez to the main range, where General Williams was already examining one of the M4s with expert precision. She stood at a respectful distance, hands clasped behind her back, eyes fixed on a point on the wall just above the general's head, a perfect position of parade rest that came naturally after years of military discipline. General Williams moved methodically down the line of rifles, occasionally asking technical questions about maintenance schedules and parts replacement that Martinez struggled to answer. "Sir, those details would be best addressed by our technician, Jennifer Adams," Martinez finally admitted, gesturing toward Jennifer. The general turned, his eyes meeting Jennifer's for the first time. For a moment there was no recognition, just the appraising look of a senior officer evaluating a civilian contractor. "Mr. Adams, how frequently are these firing pins replaced?" "Every 3,000 rounds, sir, or sooner if inspection reveals any deformation or wear," Jennifer answered, her voice stronger and more confident than anyone at the range had ever heard it. General Williams nodded, satisfied with the answer, and was about to turn back to the weapons when something made him pause. He looked at Jennifer again, more carefully this time, his brow furrowing slightly, as if trying to place a half-remembered face. "Have we met before, Miss Adams?" he asked. Jennifer swallowed hard. "Yes, sir. Afghanistan, Korengal Valley, October 2014. The general's eyes widened almost imperceptibly, a reaction so subtle that only someone trained to read micro-expressions would have noticed it. "You were military?" "Yes, sir. Staff Sergeant, 75th Ranger Regiment." A heavy silence fell over the range. Martinez looked between Jennifer and the general in confusion. The foreign attaché shifted uncomfortably, sensing the sudden tension in the room. General Williams carefully set down the rifle he had been inspecting and took 2 steps toward Jennifer. "Not just any ranger," he said, his voice now quieter but carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "Staff Sergeant Jennifer Adams, Chalk 2, Operation Mountain Recovery." Jennifer stood straighter, her eyes now meeting the general's directly. "Yes, sir." The general turned to his aide. "Colonel Parker, would you please clear the room for a moment? I need to speak with Miss Adams privately." Within 30 seconds, the range was empty, except for Jennifer and General Williams. As soon as the doors closed, the general's formal demeanor softened. "Adams, what in God's name are you doing cleaning rifles at a training range?" Jennifer's carefully maintained composure cracked slightly. "It's quiet here, sir. Structured. I know what to expect most days." General Williams nodded slowly, understanding immediately what she wasn't saying. "The transition can be difficult," he acknowledged, "but this is not right." He gestured to the room around them. "Does anyone here know? Do they have any idea who's maintaining their weapons?" Jennifer shook her head. "No, sir, that's how I prefer it." The general ran a hand over his face, a rare display of emotion from a man known for his stoic leadership. "Adams, you received the Medal of Honor. The president placed it around your neck. I was there." "Yes, sir, I remember." "Then you must also remember that your actions saved 14 men, including my son, Lieutenant Williams. You held that position for 9 hours after being wounded twice." Jennifer looked down at her hands, the same hands that had fired an M240 machine gun until the barrel overheated, the same hands that had dragged wounded Rangers to cover under heavy fire, the same hands that now spent their days wiping carbon from rifles that would only ever be fired at paper targets. "With all due respect, sir, that was a different person. I'm just Jennifer now." General Williams was quiet for a moment, studying the woman before him, a recipient of the nation's highest military honor, reduced to an invisible presence at a training range, her extraordinary courage and sacrifice unknown to those who casually dismissed her. "The demonstration today," he said finally. "It includes a marksmanship component, correct?" Jennifer nodded. "Yes, sir. Your staff will be shown the new qualification course of fire." "And who will be shooting?" "Sergeant Miller and Staff Sergeant Ramirez. Sir, they're our best instructors." General Williams shook his head. "No, I want you to shoot, Adams." Jennifer's carefully neutral expression faltered. "Sir, That's an order, Staff Sergeant?" The general's use of her former rank was deliberate. 20 minutes later, the range had been reopened and the visitors and staff had returned. General Williams addressed the group. "Gentlemen, there's been a change to the program. Instead of the planned demonstration, I've asked Ms. Adams to show us the qualification course." Martinez looked alarmed. "Sir, Adams is just our cleaning tech. She doesn't—" "She'll do fine," the general interrupted, his tone making it clear the matter was not open for discussion. Jennifer stepped up to the firing line, accepting the M4 that Sergeant Miller reluctantly handed to her. The weight of the weapon felt both foreign and familiar in her hands, like greeting an old friend she'd been avoiding. She inserted the magazine, chambered a round, and assumed a perfect standing position that immediately caught the attention of the foreign military attachés. Standard qualification course, called Range Officer Martinez, still looking uncertain. 40 targets, varying distances, 20 rounds. Shooter ready? Jennifer nodded once, her focus narrowing to the targets downrange. When the buzzer sounded, she fired with a speed and precision that left the room in stunned silence. Moving smoothly between standing, kneeling, and prone positions, she engaged target after target with mechanical efficiency. Each shot found its mark, not just hitting the targets, but striking the exact center with a consistency that was statistically improbable. When the last casing hit the floor, Jennifer safed the weapon and stepped back from the firing line. The range remained silent as Martinez sent the target sheets forward for inspection. 40 out of 40, he announced, his voice betraying his shock. Perfect score, all center mass. He turned to Jennifer with new eyes. Adams, where did you learn to shoot like that? Before Jennifer could answer, General Williams stepped forward. He reached into his uniform pocket and withdrew a small blue case. Opening it, he removed a small lapel pin, a miniature representation of the Medal of Honor. Gentlemen, he said to the assembled group, I'd like to introduce you to Staff Sergeant Jennifer Adams, United States Army, retired. On October 7, 2014, Sergeant Adams' Ranger unit was ambushed in the Korengal Valley. After the unit commander and senior NCOs were killed or wounded, Sergeant Adams took command. Despite sustaining multiple injuries, she held off an enemy force estimated at over 50 fighters, directed close air support, and established a landing zone for evacuation, saving the lives of 14 wounded Rangers. The general turned to face Jennifer directly. For her actions that day, Staff Sergeant Adams was awarded the Medal of Honor. The silence that followed was profound. Martinez stared at Jennifer in disbelief, while the instructors who had dismissed her for months looked at the floor in embarrassment. I believe, General Williams continued, that Fort Bragg could benefit from Miss Adams' expertise in a capacity other than cleaning rifles. Effective immediately, I'm offering her a position as the lead marksmanship instructor for Special Operations Training Groups. Jennifer looked at the general, then at the small pin in his hand, the symbol of a past she had tried to leave behind. For the first time in years, she felt something shift inside her, not a return to who she had been, but perhaps a step toward who she might become. Thank you, sir, she said, accepting the pin. I'll consider it. As the demonstration concluded and the visitors filed out, Jennifer remained at the firing line, looking down at the Medal of Honor miniature in her palm. Behind her, she could hear the range staff whispering among themselves, their perception of the jumpy blonde permanently altered. General Williams paused at the door, looking back at the woman who had saved his son and 13 others. Adams, he called. Jennifer looked up. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought after coming home, but you don't have to fight them alone. Jennifer nodded, closing her hand around the pin. Tomorrow, she would make a decision about the general's offer. But today, for the first time since leaving the army, she stood a little straighter, the invisible weight of her medal no longer quite so heavy to bear.